to Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here's your host, Cody Manning.
And welcome into this week's edition of Cody Talks NFL. Hope you guys had a great week. Hope you enjoyed those games last weekend. Some were good. One was pretty good. The others were up and down. Chiefs game was exciting. But I'm going to go ahead and get into this week's episode. Again, like I said, the last 3 weeks, with it being the playoff time of the year, not that much news out there. I do have 3 news items I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to preview the conference championship games, and I'm going to get you guys out of here so you enjoy your weekend and watch those games on Sunday. First piece of news that came out, we finally finished the coaching hiring of this year. The Browns did hire Kevin Stefanski. He was the offensive coordinator at the Minnesota Vikings. I'm kind of in the middle of the road on this hire. He did lead Minnesota to having some of their best offensive numbers underneath Mike Zimmer since like Brett Favre was there. So he seems like he knows what he is doing as far as the offensive play caller, and who knows if he was truly running the offense he wants to do, because Mike Zimmer, he kind of hammers the point of he wants his offense to run the ball as much as possible. So who knows, maybe he can open up things. Maybe he can help Baker Mayfield improve as a thrower, get back to being the Baker Mayfield we all thought he could be. And he does sound like he's one hell of a leader. I know Dalvin Cook came out and said, made a little comment about his leadership within the locker room. So we'll see if he's going to be the right guy. I know Paul DePodesta, who works with the Browns, he was actually wanting the Browns to hire Kevin Stefanski last year, but Jimmy Haslam, the owner, listened to John Dorsey, the former GM at the time, and decided to go with Freddie Kitchens. And looks like DePodesta gets his guy, and he gets a chance to prove if that's the right guy to lead Cleveland in the right direction. We'll see. Like I said, I'm kind of middle of the pack on that hire right now. Only time will tell with these coaching hirings if the guy was the right guy. Because keep in mind, remember a few years back, Doug Peterson was listed as the worst hiring in that year's cycle, and he ended up winning a Super Bowl. So sometimes these things can be unpredictable as far as who will end up making a great head coach, because like I said, time will tell. Next piece of news was very surprising. The Panthers linebacker Luke Kuechly retired this week. Very surprising. He's only 28 years old. He hasn't even reached the age of 30. He had 2 years left on his contract. He played 8 seasons in the NFL. He had 1,092 tackles, 18 interceptions. He also had 7 Pro Bowls, 7 All-Pro teams. First 5 of those were all first teams. He was actually the only player with LT to win the Defensive Rookie of the Year and then win the Defensive Player of the Year the following year. So very surprising to see Luke Kuechly retire. I know he suffered some concussions over his time. It sucks because I love watching Luke Kuechly play the game. Players, if you watch those like NFL Top 100 lists, they would talk about how he would just know like basically every play, and it would be so surprising. There was a quote talking about like how his first couple seasons in the league, he refused to get cable so he could study film all the time. Great player. He probably should get in the Hall of Fame one day. I think it will take time, just because I think the committee that gets those guys in, they do want to see a longevity, a long career. He doesn't also have a Super Bowl underneath his belt, even though he played in one. But I mean, 7 All-Pros, 7 Pro Bowls, Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year honors. Like I said, only him and LT ever won the Defensive Rookie of the Year and then won the Defensive Player of the Year the following season. I'm happy for Luke Kuechly. Obviously, if you watch that video, he wanted to keep on playing, but he's just saying his body won't allow it, and he just felt like it's time to step away. And I do wonder if this might be a trend we are seeing, because we see guys like Andrew Luck, now Kuechly, Rob Gronkowski, all those guys retired before the age of 30. I think we're at the point of society too. You understand the long-term health benefits, and these guys are making a bunch of money, so why not go in, play the game you love, make a bunch of money by the time you're 30, and if you're comfortable with yourself and you can be at peace with that decision to move on to bigger and better things, then it's all for you. It's his life. Last piece of news I'm going to talk about, Larry Fitzgerald. while we get a surprise retirement by Luke Kwekly, we get a non-retirement by Larry Fitzgerald. I thought he was done after this year. He's going to return for one more season with the Cardinals. They gave him a one-year extension through next year. It sounds like he's going to be returning for roughly around the same amount as last year. It'll be about $11 million with some incentives. Kind of a lot of money for not the production he gave last year, but I think it's more for that leadership he can give. The coaching he can give to the younger receiving core in Arizona. It's a young roster. They don't really have much people they have to pay right now. You have to hit that cap limit. So I wasn't too upset with the amount of money they gave him. I mean, it's Larry, right? It does kind of suck, though, because you would think if Larry wants to continue his career, maybe he would go to a team that could compete for a Super Bowl next year. I know I'm one of the many people that want to see Larry Fitzgerald win a Super Bowl before he can get out. It just feels like Arizona's probably at least one more season away before they got a roster they can build that can compete for the Super Bowl, especially in a division that has the 49ers, the Seahawks, and the Rams. That's a very tough division. It seems like Arizona has many strides they made this year. They still have some holes in that roster where I still think they're probably 1 to 2 seasons away before they have a roster to make that playoff run. But you never know. Maybe they can hit in free agency, hit in the draft, and they can maybe make a run next year. I don't see it happening as of now. I just kind of happy for Larry. He's playing the game he loves, but I kind of being selfish and wish he would have went to a team that could have helped him win that finally get to win that Super Bowl. But yeah, those are the 3 pieces of news I wanted to cover. I'm going to go ahead and dive into these conference championship previews. Both games are on Sunday. The first game, it starts around 3 p.m. Eastern time. It's Tennessee is traveling to KC to face the Chiefs. Let's go ahead and look at these injuries. As far as the injury reports, of course, they're not final. By the time you're listening to this, you should see the final injury designations. But as far as players for this week's practices on the Titans front, all these guys have been limited in practice reps. Jayon Brown with a shoulder, Rashaan Evans with a foot, Adam Humphries with an ankle, Adoree Jackson with a foot, Cody Hollister with an ankle, and Jack Conklin with a shoulder injury. And then on the Chiefs side, LaShawn McCoy and Matt Moore, they both have missed practice this week with illness. Chris Jones has yet to return to practice with his calf injury. That's the one to note. If he's not going to play this week, that's going to really open up things for Derrick Henry. And then Travis Kelce's been limited with a knee injury. Now, looking at both teams' offense and defense, I'll start with Tennessee's. Starting with their offense, they are 10th in scoring. They get 25.1 points per game. They have the third best rushing attack, getting 138.9 yards per game. And then they have the 21st best passing attack, getting 223.9 yards per game, even though Ryan Tannehill has yet to go over 100 yards passing in the playoffs. They're just winning with the legs of old Derrick Henry. And then their defense, they're 12th in holding opponents scoring to just 20.7 points per game. They have the 12th ranked rushing defense, allowing 104.5 yards per game. And they have the 24th ranked passing defense. They allow 255 yards per game. Now, looking at the Kansas City side, their offense, they're 4th in scoring. They get 28.2 points per game. They have the 23rd ranked rushing attack. They get 98.1 yards per game. And they have the 5th best passing attack, getting 281.1 yards per game. Now, as far as their defense, they are 7th in opponent scoring. They hold their opponents to score just 19.2 points per game. Probably their weakest point of their defense is something that Derrick Henry is going to try to take advantage. They have the 26th ranked rush defense. They allow 128.2 yards per game. And then they have the 8th best pass defense. They only allow 221.1 yards per game. Now, as far as how this Tennessee's game plan, right? Obviously, they're probably going to do what got them there. Run Derrick Henry, body blows in the first half, and then let him control the second half. Obviously, if Derrick Henry can take advantage of the weaker defense of Kansas City, they can control the clock. They have to score touchdowns, right? And don't make stupid decisions, coaching decisions like Bill O'Brien did last week with that one special teams 4th down call when he went for it. Obviously, if you got a 4th and 1, 4th and inches situation, and you got big Derrick Henry, even Ryan Tannehill could sneak it. Like, even if you're up 21-0, try to get that first and go get the touchdown. So it's just like last week when I talked about the Texans game plan to beat the Chiefs. You know, it's all about clock control, but not only just about clock control. When you have that ball, you're scoring every time, right? You probably want to get the ball first. You're probably going to want to go down and get that opening touchdown, because the last thing they can afford is letting KC get up big early. Now, I will say this, and who knows, I could be wrong again, but I would take a guess that Ryan Tannehill is going to have to throw over 100 yards, right, to beat Patrick Mahomes in that lethal offense. As we saw last week, the Chiefs can just score 41 straight points out of nowhere. Yet Tennessee, they did a great job on their defense as far as making fourth down stops, forcing turnovers from Lamar. You also got to keep in mind, they still gave up over 500 yards in offense last week. So it's not like they're playing some super stout defense. Don't let that fool you. But if they can force those turnovers, force those those turnover on downs, that will give them a chance as well. Their defense, you know, like, it's kind of like I said, they gave up a lot of yards last week. It's going to be like the same game plan, right? Just don't get beat up over the top. Don't make dumb mistakes, and just try to get after Patrick Mahomes as much as you can with your pass rushers, and then just make sure he's not beating you through the air constantly, and you're just not allowing too many touchdowns, and just try to force turnovers. Just try to jump out in front of passes. Just try to get some interceptions. It's going to be about winning the turnover battle for Tennessee. And Kansas City, you know, what I'm thinking for them is it's pretty simple. If I'm Kansas City and I win the coin toss, I want the ball right away, right? March down, get that opening touchdown, get that Arrowhead crowd really into it. It's very loud. You're already up 7-0, right? And then if they can somehow get that ball back and get another touchdown, they're out 14-0. They can get out to a quick lead and a big lead very fast in the first quarter, even if it's like into the second quarter, and you take Tennessee out of their game plan and they're not going to be able to lean on Derrick Henry as much and they're having to throw a lot, I think that's where they can get them. I think that's where they maybe get some turnovers, but at least taking Derrick Henry out of the game. That's their best bet. Maybe they go sell all out. You know how Tennessee, like, they kind of actually did the game plan I said that they should do if they wanted to beat Baltimore, which is sell out to Lamar. You know, sell out to Derrick Henry, what the Chiefs could do for them. Sell out to stop Derrick Henry and count on your offense getting those touchdowns and getting out to a big early lead. I think that's their best bet. As far as their offense, I think they can tack any part of the defense. I think they can do it through the run or the air. The Tennessee's defense kind of middle of the pack to me. And then other than that, as far as my game prediction for this one, Kansas City's at home. Their offense is so dangerous. I know Tennessee beat them earlier in the season, but I'm going to go with KC. I just think they're the better team. I think Mike Vrabel has done a great job this year. I want to give him that. He's one hell of a coach, but I give Andy Reid the coaching advantage, the experience of being there before. I know he kind of just feels like, you know how I was talking about Larry Fitzgerald deserves a championship. It kind of just feels like Andy Reid just deserves. I mean, nobody deserves a championship. You should earn it. But it feels like it's about time he got one, right? So, I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I do think it'll be close because I think if they can get the running game going, especially against the weak Kansas City pass rush defense, and the fact that they beat them before, that should have some confidence. Now, that game was in Nashville when they played earlier this season, but that was also Patrick Mahomes' first game back from his kneecap injury when he broke his kneecap, and he didn't rush that much. Now, as we saw last week, he has his rushing ability back, so I think that might be the difference in this rematch. I'm gonna take Kansas City. I say they win like a 35-31 type win for Kansas City. I'm going to go ahead and get into this next matchup. Green Bay is traveling to San Francisco. As far as the injuries for practice this week on the Packers front, these following players have been limited. Geronimo Allison with an illness. Kenny Clark with a back, Alan Lazard with an ankle, Preston Smith with an ankle, and Danny Vitale with a knee injury. And then on the 49ers front, Quan Alexander has been limited with a pectoral, and then D Ford has been limited with a quadricep and hamstring injury. Now, looking at their offense and defense on the Packers front, they're 14th in scoring. They get 23.5 points per game. They have the 15th ranked rushing attack, getting 112.2 yards per game, and they have the 17th ranked passing attack, getting 233.3 yards per game. Now, as far as their defense, they are ninth in holding their opponent's scoring to only 19.6 points per game. They have the 23rd ranked rushing defense. They allow 120.1 yards per game, and they have the 14th ranked passing defense, allowing 232.6 yards per game. Now, looking at the 49ers offense, they're second in scoring. They get 29.9 points per game. They have the second best rushing attack. They get 144.1 yards per game. The 13th best passing attack, they get 237 yards per game. Now, their defense, they're eighth in holding their opponent's scoring to only 19.4 points per game. They have the 17th ranked rushing defense. They allow 112.6 yards per game, and they have the number one ranked pass defense. They allow 169.2 yards per game. Now, as far as how they could attack us, starting with the Packers, looking at their defense, what they could maybe do against the 49ers offense. I mean, as we saw last week, 49ers offense won with the run game. I mean, they opened up with the pass, and then they went strictly to the run game. They had the second best passing attack. Packers' rush defense is not that great, but if their game plan is to stop the 49ers offense, I think it's to bottle up that run game and force Jimmy G to beat you. I mean, Jimmy G did throw an interception last week. I know after he threw that interception, after he threw that interception, the 49ers offense ended up running it like 14 straight times after that. So I think the best bet for them is to try to bottle up that run as much as they can, force Jimmy G to throw, and try to force those turnovers and win the turnover battle. Their offense, they have a good pass defense in San Francisco. Again, this is something I said about the Packers last week. Get Aaron Jones involved as much as you can and as early as you can, and that usually produces for their offense. That allows things to open up for Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure the 49ers are going to have a better defensive game plan for Devontae Adams, unlike the Seahawks. So they're going to really need somebody else to step up, whether that's Geronimo Allison, Alan Lazard, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. They're going to need somebody to step up. If somebody can step up in the big key moment, that will give them a chance to win this game. Also, too, I think if I was the Packers, I want the ball first. I want to march down and get that opening touchdown. I think their best bet is to jump out to that early lead, try to get the ball back in their hands and jump out, kind of similar to like what I think KC needs to do to eliminate Derrick Henry's running game. That's what I think the Packers need to do. Jump out to a big early lead. If they can jump out to like a 14-0 lead at the beginning and try to take away that running attack of the San Francisco, make them throw the ball as much as possible and try to force Jimmy G into mistakes, that will give them a chance, I think, to win this game. Now, looking at San Francisco's attack, it's pretty clear, right? The Packers, they have the 23rd ranked rushing defense. So run the ball, attack them, methodically, pick them apart with George Kittle, Emmanuel Sanders in the middle, get Deebo Samuel involved as well, and just, march down the field, control the clock, keep Aaron Rodgers on the sideline. Listen, I know it's not the Aaron Rodgers of old, but we saw it last week. He could still make those throws, and it's a primetime game. The dude has been here before, and the last thing you need to see is all of a sudden Aaron Rodgers just clicks, right? He's got his guys involved, and he's just Aaron Rodgers, and he's picking your defense apart all day. Run the ball, score touchdowns, get out to that lead, and then just let your pass rushers like Nick Bosa and D Ford, just let them just, gung-ho and just sprint at Aaron Rodgers all night because they're having to pass because you're up to an early lead. Get the sacks. The Packers offensive line, it's kind of it's all right. They got some key guys like Bakhtiari, but there's some guys that are all right. And I think the defensive front can really get after Aaron Rodgers and sack him and potentially force him into mistakes. Yeah, I think as far as this game, I do think the 49ers have the better defense. Um, they have a better rushing attack, even though Aaron Jones is the better running back, if that makes any sense between the two. But the as far as the scheme, I like 49ers rushing attack. I think, I mean, keep in mind, the last time they faced, the 49ers completely dominated them. I think the 49ers are going to win this. I really do. Unless Aaron Rodgers has an Aaron Rodgers type of game, a classic Aaron Rodgers type of game, I just think that that defensive front is going to manhandle the Packers' offensive line. They're going to sack Rodgers. They're just going to frustrate him all night. I think they're going to have a great game plan to at least like double team Devontae Adams, and they're going to force somebody else to beat him. And I just don't know if I can trust any of the other guys outside of Devontae Adams in the passing attack to beat him. I can't trust a Jimmy Graham. I can't trust any of the other guys. They had all season to do it. They just nobody ever really stepped up. And after how they dominated the Vikings last week, I just don't see how they're not the class of the NFC. So I'm going to pick the 49ers in this one. I do think, though, it's a playoff game. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to keep it close and keep it interesting. Let me say that. So I think it'll be like I can see this being like a 24-17 type win for the 49ers. So there are my picks: 49ers and Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Very interesting. I think that'd be a great matchup. I'd like to see. And that's my previews. Like I said, this is going to be a very quick one for you guys today. I'm gonna go ahead and get into my question from Rob. All right, Rob goes, while the games need to be played before we know what was and what was not a good hire, which new hire coach are you most excited for and least excited for in their new role? I think the one I'm most excited for would be Matt Rule in Carolina. It's just every time that guy talks, he just screams leadership, development. He cares for his players. Now, like I talked about, if anybody listened to that episode when I talked about the hiring, I do think this is going to take time, right? With Matt Rule, like especially like Luke Kuechly is retired, and to me, I didn't even talk about this when I talked about the Luke Kuechly retirement. If anybody has been listening to me, I've been kind of like on like, oh, they're just going to keep Cam. It makes no sense for them to trade Cam. Well, now that Luke Kuechly's retired, now I'm kind of on the boat. It makes more sense for them to trade Cam. It's time to just blow this thing all up in Carolina and just build it up in Matt Rule's image. That's what I'm excited for. But like I said, don't expect, especially next year, the Panthers are probably going to struggle next year. Probably going to struggle in year 2, but by year 3, I think the Panthers are going to be a team to contend with once he gets that program in his image. As far as least excited, I'm sorry, Alexander Amir and Ali from Blitzalytics are Giants fans. Joe Judge, I don't know. He didn't really. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't want to display any special teams coaches because they got to where they are because of how good they are. But a special teams coach from New England, like what I read and what I heard from the press conference, nothing of that really excited me. I'm just kind of in the kind of up in the air about it. So I guess Joe Judge would be the one I'm least excited about. And other than that, guys, thank you for tuning into this week's episode. If you like what you heard, always please hit the like button. If you want to comment anything, please comment. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go subscribe to our Blitzalytics podcast network. We're on all about 10 different podcast platforms. The audio version of this always gets uploaded, but it's this version, the video version of this is always up there first before the audio version. So if you are listening to this on the Blitzalytics podcast network, please go subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get the notification when this goes live on our YouTube channel. And then also, too, guys, I'll be flying into Mobile on Sunday. I'll be at the Senior Bowl this week. I'll be there. I'm probably just going to chill at my hotel because I get in like late Sunday evening, right as the Packer 49er game is going to be starting. I'm sure I'm just going to go right to the hotel and watch that and try to get some sleep for the week. But I will be around Mobile at the practices, at the media meetings and all that stuff between Monday through Thursday. I end up flying out late Friday evening. So yeah, reach out to me if you want to meet up, maybe have a beer. My handle's at Cody Talks NFL. Slide in my DMs. If you guys want to meet up with that, Rob, let me know. I did see this. Jim Nagy is supposed to be talking to Joe Burrow today about going to the Senior Bowl. I'm hoping he is, and even if he has, because I mean, somebody reported during the game that he had a broken rib, but since the game, there was no report that he actually had a broken rib. So I wonder if that report was kind of not true. Maybe he had some. I don't know, maybe it hurt and it felt like a broken rib, but it turned out not to be true because they were still calling quarterback run plays with him, which I don't think you would do if you knew your quarterback had a broken rib. But anyways, I still kind of hope he goes to the Senior Bowl, even if he doesn't play, right, in the game, right? Like if he just goes there, maybe if he's healthy enough to practice, even if he's not healthy enough to practice, he's kind of just the face, He's there to get acclimated with the Bengals coaching staff and get to know them, and they can get to know him, and they can start a relationship that I basically 99% expect that to be to happen. Makes no sense for the Bengals not to draft him. So I can't wait to be there in Mobile next week. It's my first trip to the Senior Bowl. If you guys are followers of mine, please reach out. I would like to meet you guys. I know there's plenty of draft Twitter that'll be out there, the guys I've got to interact with on the Twitterverse. So yeah, please reach out. Other than that, guys, I hope you enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the conference championship games. Oh, and as a heads up, there won't be a Cody Talks NFL next week because of the Mobile trip. I'll be back probably the Friday before the Super Bowl to do a Super Bowl preview. But keep in mind, I'll be in Mobile with Roy Countryman and Jack Bourgeois, Blitzalytics. We plan on creating a lot of different types of content for you. I believe some of that content will be up here on YouTube. But either way, check out our Blitzalytics social media pages on Facebook and Twitter. And then also, just follow our individual profiles, and you'll be seeing tons of different Senior Bowl content coming from us. But yeah, have a great weekend, guys. Enjoy the game Sunday. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Blitz out.
Thank you for watching Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. As always, hit that like and subscribe button, and then hit that bell notification icon to stay up to date on all things football.